Hi, I am Amanda. I am a domestic violence survivor of about 17 years. So I've been through probably every type of abuse, to be honest with you, that there is out there. Yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
We met through a friend of mine. He was dating her. We became close friends over the years, and when my first marriage broke up, him and I decided to start dating.
So you guys knew each other for years
Yeah,
before?
we've known each other for about 23 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, for a long time. Yeah.
And what, do you know why your friend and he broke up?
He actually broke up with her to date me. That was the thing.
Was there abuse involved in their
I
relationship?
don't really think so. She never really mentioned anything about that. Maybe a little bit of the controlling, but not nearly as bad as what it got once him and I got together. So.
What were you doing for work at the time?
I was working 3 part-time jobs trying to make money because he was not working for a while there. So, yeah, it was one of those situations. I had 2 kids. I had to have income coming in. So, yeah. Yeah.
And what was your education level? What was his education level?
I graduated high school and I have some college education, along with a couple of CNA Med Aid stuff. He, on the other hand, GED.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just asked because it doesn't really matter, and that's kind of what I want to show. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't matter the
from
education.
Super educated to low. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
That's all. Just asking for the record, not in any way judgment.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yay.
So now you got a list of red flags, and I'd be curious to know, like, as you're looking at them, what things you remember from when you were younger, when you guys were first getting together, that maybe you didn't recognize at the time as a flag.
Abuse, child abuse.
He was abused as a
Yes,
child?
he was.
Okay.
Both of us were, but I feel like his was a little his was a little worse in my opinion. He was sexually assaulted as a child by family members. So, and I get that takes a toll
Sure.
on somebody,
Yeah.
especially if they don't want or know where to get the help that they need to move past that.
Right. And
Right.
I think, too, there's even more pressure on guys than girls when it comes to sexual abuse, and then you add the element of it being somebody that's
Family,
that
yep,
you're
and
supposed to trust.
His family's idea was to bury it and forget it.
Mhm.
We don't talk about it. And obviously, as we both know, not talking about our trauma is,
Not helpful.
it's not helpful. It can be devastating.
Right.
So,
And your family responding like that can make you really feel like I don't matter.
right, exactly. Let's see. Believe the rules do not apply to him. Oh yeah, imagine that. He did have some like misdemeanor, not really abuse, but like violent behavior. Like I remember one time before him and I got together, he went to jail he was drunk and he busted out one of the neighbors' windows. I think he had a terroristic threat, drug and alcohol addiction. Ooh. Became very controlling. Even kind of in the beginning, he would get really angry with me if I spent time with my family or even go to work. He would get angry. So,
Yeah, I remember.
breaking things when angry. Yeah, so many of them. There was when his mother passed away shortly after we got together, and he was going through his grieving process. And I do remember there was one time, and he did this in front of my kids. He was just so angry with the world that he was literally just beating the crap out of me, and I didn't see that as so much a red flag as more of a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
And it was bad enough to the point that I called friends and asked them to take the kids for like a week so he could figure out how to calm down, because I didn't want them seeing that. You know, that
Were
was
you
just
concerned for yourself at that point that it
Um,
would be worse than just that, or
not at that point. No, you know, like I said, I knew he was really angry, and it's not an excuse by any means. But I was the one he was taking it out on, and I didn't think that after he had time to process that it would continue, but it did. So, and there were times that even in the beginning I tried to leave, and he would threaten to harm me or my kids or my family, and that makes it hard to leave. It makes it hard to leave. So, yeah. Not really violent towards the older children. I'm trying to look through this list real quick.
you're okay. You mentioned the like breaking the neighbor's window out. Would that have occurred to you to be a sign of danger? Because it wouldn't have occurred to me
No.
in my younger. What I would have been like, he's being dumb, but it wouldn't
Yeah,
have
that's kind of
translated
more what
to me
I-
like, oh, this is a
'Cause
sign of.
The situation that it happened, you know, like he was drunk, and I mean it was kind of dumb, but his brother and my first husband worked together, and sometimes his brother would come over after he'd get off work to my house and hang out for a while. Well, me or his brother did not wake him up when he came over the night before. That didn't go over too well. He got very, very angry, and I was extremely pregnant. So, you know, like, there was an altercation that had started in my home. We got him to leave my home, and then he went across the street and started punching out windows. So, you know, he acted different once we got together for a little while there, but I didn't think that it would continue on the path that it was on, or get worse than it started. So
Yeah, I think it's pretty normal.
it is.
Unfortunately. And I don't think that if they showed their true colors, their abusiveness initially, people would be with them in the first place. So I think it's very common for them to be super nice and wonderful for a while until they feel like you're emotionally attached.
Yes.
And then that other stuff starts coming
Yes.
out.
Then the narcissism, then the abuse starts coming out. Yes, absolutely. I do agree. So, and the rest of these, the using threats to control me, yeah, that started out pretty early in the relationship, but it would just be, you know, like, I would hunt you down type stuff. Towards the end, it got scary threats. So,
We'll go into that here in a minute. Was there a specific moment that you remember realizing that you needed to get out of the relationship, or was it just kind of a gradual?
many times I tried to get out, and I think it's just because of the way that I cared for him. I would want to believe that he would make those changes
Sure.
to make our relationship work. But yeah, there was a point, I want to say in 2017, he just got really, really bad, constantly threatening to harm me if I ever left, or anybody that I would potentially have a relationship with, or my family. And I did get out for a while, and the I'm sorry's, I can make these changes, all of those pleads that they use to get you back, he used, and it worked. It worked.
So one of the things that I want to have in my course will be talking about the specific things that they use to try to get back with you, because I think people need to know that.
They do.
You know, I think if women get to the point where they're strong enough to be able to go away, if they don't have the ammunition, the knowledge of that crap, then it's so easy to fall
this
back
last
into
time,
that.
This last time I left, and it's been about a year since him and I had this conversation. He called me. I'd been gone for like 4 or 5 days. Yeah, the dogs can't sleep without you. You know I love my dogs, but this is not going to work this time. And so this is too toxic for us to continue. You know, nothing good is going to come out of it. So it took a lot for me to say that no. So it really does take a lot to try to break that cycle.
Especially the longer you're with them.
Yes, it is very hard after you've been with them for almost 2 decades. So.
Hey, thank you for being with me in this video. If you are interested in the Scary Ex Survival System, I have a couple of different parts of it that are out, and I'm looking for some people to do the beta version of the whole thing. So those links are in the description below. There is a free Is He Scary quiz that has intimate partner homicide red flags, kind of a summary of them, and lets you determine whether or not your partner or your ex or whoever it is that you're taking the quiz for might potentially be a threat to your life. And then the Will He Kill Me webinar is free. It is a threat assessment type of webinar that we do on Saturday evenings. You can register for that through the link in the description. If you're interested in doing the beta version of the full course, there's a link for that too. You can get on the calendar and we can schedule a video call and we can kind of talk about your situation and whether or not I think this program would be helpful for you. My next question was, how long after you first started thinking about getting out the last time, how long was it before it actually ended?
That day was it. I started making phone calls as soon as he left for work, trying to figure out where I could go, where I would feel safe. And then I made some phone calls after his lunch break was over, and I found somebody to put gas in my car, and I packed my bags and I left, and I never looked back. It literally was within like a 12-hour period and I was gone. Because I knew at that day, after, and we can talk about that later, after this situation had happened, that if I didn't get out, it was going to be my life, whether it was by his hands or my own, because I was absolutely miserable.
Can you go ahead and tell us about the incident that happened that day?
I got woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning for something I had apparently done in his dream. And yeah, he lived in a fantasy world, in a dreamland. And I didn't understand what was going on, but we thought about it. And there was a point during the fight, he pulled a machete and he stepped towards me. He was probably about 4 inches from my chest. And he says, "I'm going to effing kill you." And not being rational, I decided that he was not going to be the one that decided when I lived or died. And I took a handful of potassium pills, trying to stop my heart. And it didn't work. And that's when I knew that there was a greater purpose for me, because I should have been dead. But I wasn't. And that's what opened my eyes and said, listen, if you are willing to try to kill yourself to get out, you've got to get out. You have to get out. You got to find the strength, the courage. And I prayed and I talked to friends and I made those arrangements so I didn't have to feel like that anymore. Because that's that hopelessness we all feel in that situation. When you're ready to end it, you gotta figure something out, because your life is way too important.
Do you think that there would have been anything that anybody could have done or said that would have helped to bring you to the point of leaving for good outside of this threat to your life?
I think I would have left if I knew I had the support that I needed. I didn't have anywhere to go. I wasn't thinking of places to go. I really wasn't allowed to talk to people. I had to do all of this work secretly.
Mm-hmm. Pretty common.
Yeah, very secretly. Just to get where I was. So, just to get out. I think if I would have known, regardless of the threats he has made, because it's been 28th, it'll be a year. I think I would have left earlier if I would have known he wasn't going to act on the words that he was saying if I left. So,
But you believed at the time that you would.
but I definitely believed, because he was high on something. I don't know what it was, but I knew he wasn't himself. I knew there was something that was altering his state of mind to behave so rash for something so little, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
That
But
was one of my relationships that I knew had to end after he had told me the next day that he had come upstairs with a knife to stab me to death because he thought I was cheating on him in our bed when he was in the basement, and I was sleeping.
right,
But I think that he, like, later, I didn't know at the time, but later I found out he was using meth, and I think that he was high on meth, and he could have killed me because he could have seen me there. You know, I learned meth gives people hallucinations. He
Oh.
could have hallucinated me.
it was either meth or cocaine that he was on, and I don't know which, because he's had problems with both over the years. So, I can't really tell you which one it was, but I know it was one of them.
And either one would have been dangerous for you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing all of
Yeah.
that. I mean, like,
No, it's, yeah, I asked the ladies in discipleship to pray for me. I said, because I actually haven't gotten my story out. They've heard little bits and pieces, so I was a little nervous. You know what I mean? Yeah.
and it can be triggering too. I mean, so it's
Right.
hard.
Right. No, I get it.
I think the more you tell it, the easier it gets, maybe. But I've gotten good at talking about the things that happen without talking about the way it affects me or the emotions. I can talk about the other
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
than what that did to me or things like that. So,
Yes. I still have moments of triggers, but they're not as bad as they were really bad for a while there.
You're only almost a year out.
Yeah,
so
the 28th, it'll be a year.
that's pretty cool. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm really proud of myself, and today is actually my 3-month anniversary for my divorce. So,
Nice.
it's liberating.
Were you concerned at all for there to be some kind of a violent something with the divorce?
Yes,
happy to
I was. I feel like I got very lucky and blessed that he didn't show up. But one of my best friends is a public safety officer, and I had actually asked that person to come to court with me, alongside with the court providing a sheriff. Like, I wanted to make sure I had my own personal witness on top of a sheriff there in case he did show up. And like I said, he didn't show up, and that was my biggest fear, was having to face him. But it made it a lot easier knowing, once I knew he wasn't there, to get through it. So,
I also had a similar, I got escorted out to my car the last time that I went to court against one of my exes because it was scary.
I get it.
So what has your healing journey been like so far? And how has Jesus played a part
Oh,
in that?
Jesus has been the biggest part in my healing. I went through a lot of depression in the beginning, trying to figure out how to live without this extra extension that has been literally by my side, controlling my life. It took me a long time to realize that I'm free. I'm my own person again. I can do the things I want to do. But to be honest with you, the biggest part that Jesus has played in my life is learning how to forgive. I will never forget what he did to me, but I do forgive him, because I know not all of it was him. It was the drugs. I'm not saying that some of it wasn't just him sober. Some of it was, but most of it was the drugs. So, I pray for him, and I pray for him to find Jesus and become sober and a better person. because I don't want to see him do what he did to me to somebody else. That is the hardest part. It is.
I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I am familiar with this. I already know what this crap is like.
Yeah.
Versus if some unsuspecting new woman comes into it, she's like,
She has no idea, and these people think that, she was the crazy one, and he's a great guy, and they just don't realize that it's a situational thing. It really is. We as the victims become crazy to people because we're in this fight or flight
Right.
situation all the time, and it makes us crazy.
yeah.
You know, we don't know what we can or can't say or wear or do or without repercussions, and that messes with your mind.
Sure.
But-
Yeah. And you're just living on a trauma and fight or flight, which is constantly.
Absolutely.
What has life been like for you since you left?
It's been so much easier to just breathe and live, do the things I want to do, go to work, even simple things like that, you know. The church, I was not allowed to go to church. I was barely allowed to have a Bible in the house. I was not allowed to talk about my faith. So, you know, to be able to find myself again and where I belong in God's world, not in this world, but in God's, you know, it's made a huge difference. So.
And then you have people in your life, you're allowed to talk to people.
Oh, yeah.
You got a support system.
I got a support system, I got friends, I can freely go and see my family and friends, not have to worry, not have to worry about, you're out there cheating on me, because that was a big one too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, constantly, it didn't matter who I was talking to,
Mm-hmm.
I was cheating on them.
Yeah.
So,
I find that to be really common too.
yeah.
I don't know if that's because that's just a controlling thing or if that's because they're afraid that we're going to leave them and so that's an insecurity thing. But
And I think a lot of it has to stem with their behaviors. Because I noticed,
Yeah.
because I noticed the more I was getting accused of cheating,
The more he was actually cheating.
the more he was actually cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That too.
So,
Like, I know what I'm getting away with, so you have to.
yeah,
be getting
you
away
have to
with
be
this
doing
thing
it too because I'm doing it. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And there too. Do you have any advice that you'd like to give to others who have left recently, have left abusive relationships recently? That entire sentence I butchered the crap out of.
My biggest piece of advice is to just put that person in your past as much as possible. And I get if you've got kids, you can't do that. But if you're someone like me that doesn't have kids in the house, don't answer the phone. Don't answer the door. Don't talk to them. Don't
Just no
talk. Yeah.
contact.
Yep, just no contact. I did that. I did that in July of last year, the beginning of July, and I haven't heard a word from him. So my biggest thing, I would say right now is just no contact, because that contact is when they're going to do and say whatever they can to get you to come home, because they don't have that power anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something they can't
And
live without, that power of control and being able to abuse you.
And it's not that they miss you necessarily, it's that they miss that power dynamic that they were in and how it was.
Feeding them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my biggest advice, is just don't talk to them.
Reach out to other people that
Yep.
actually understand and can support you in that. Because the no contact thing is hard,
It is.
especially when you have that, it's such a dumb day today. I cannot for nothing. The emotional attachment. You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Good gracious.
It is hard because, you do have that emotional attachment. You do, it doesn't matter what they've done to you, you still care about their well-being. And you still care. So if they're saying, you know, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't do this. Those are just things that they're trying to say to get you to come home,
Right.
to tug on those heartstrings.
And they know you well enough to
And
some extent that they know which buttons to push
Exactly.
that are going to be really effective for you.
And really for me, my biggest thing was because there was a couple of times that I had kicked him out of our home. It was my home. And he would use, you know, oh, this homeless shelter has bed bugs and gay guys are doing stuff in the room and blah, 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 you know, like things that he would know to say to be like, okay, she's going to let me come home. So it was a lot easier for me to find somewhere to go. So he didn't know where to find me.
Mm.
So if that is an option for anybody, I would suggest that as well.
Me
To
too.
not stay where he knows where you're at.
I
Yeah.
definitely second that. And
Yeah.
when people leave, not even going somewhere where they know, you know, like not going to your parents or your best friends, if they know those people, go somewhere where they can't find you, because then if there is threat of them killing you, you know, you're making yourself inaccessible. So
Right, I took literally the only vehicle that we had and my clothes, and I went at least 2 hours away, and I took the phone. He had no way to contact me, no way to get to me for at least 2 weeks. So it was kind of nice
yeah.
to be able to have that time to breathe.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
letting me interview. Anything else that you want to add?
no, I just want everyone to know that life is so much better once you can get away and figure out how to get through that trauma.